It was a crisp autumn afternoon in Washington, D.C. The golden leaves swirled around the White House lawn as President Donald J. Trump paced back and forth in the Oval Office, his trademark red tie neatly pressed and his expression unreadable. His schedule was packed, as always, but a peculiar last-minute meeting had been arranged, one that wasn't on the official agenda. His chief of staff, a seasoned political strategist, had hesitantly suggested it. "Sir, I think you should meet this young Air Force lieutenant. He has information." "Something sensitive," the man had said, a rare uncertainty in his voice. Trump had waved a hand dismissively. "Sensitive, huh? Everyone's got secrets. But let's hear what this guy has to say. Bring him in." Minutes later, the heavy double doors of the Oval Office swung open. In walked a young man in his mid-20s, his crisp Air Force uniform spotless, his posture rigid with discipline. His name tag read Lieutenant Ryan Carter. With short-cropped brown hair, piercing blue eyes, and an unmistakable aura of confidence, he was the kind of soldier America prided itself on. But there was something in his eyes, something that hinted at deep unease. "Mr. President," Lieutenant Carter said, standing at attention. Trump gestured for him to sit. "All right, Lieutenant. You've got my attention. What's this all about?" The young officer hesitated, glancing briefly at the security personnel stationed at the door. "I'd prefer to speak in private, sir. This is classified information, top level." Trump raised an eyebrow, exchanging a glance with his chief of staff before nodding. "All right, everyone out," he commanded. The room cleared within moments, leaving only the president and the lieutenant. Ryan Carter took a deep breath. His hands were steady, but his voice carried the weight of something immense. "Mr. President, I have proof that something is terribly wrong within the highest levels of the U.S. government. And if I'm right, it could shake this country to its core." Trump leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Go on." Carter swallowed hard, then reached into the inner pocket of his uniform. He pulled out a small flash drive and placed it on the resolute desk between them. "This drive contains classified information intercepted from an internal Air Force network. It details unauthorized operations, sir. Missions that don't officially exist. Missions that go against everything the American people believe in." The president frowned. "What kind of missions?" Carter's voice dropped to a whisper. "Sir, these files suggest that for the past 5 years, a covert group within our own military has been conducting operations both foreign and domestic without congressional approval. And worse, these operations may have directly influenced elections, media narratives, and even national policies." Trump sat back in his chair, silent for a moment. He wasn't a man easily rattled. But this was different. "You're telling me there's a shadow government operating within my own military?" "Yes, sir. And they've been doing it long before you took office. If we don't act now, we may lose control of the country altogether." Trump exhaled sharply, tapping his fingers on the desk. "All right, kid. You've got guts coming in here with this. But I need proof. Real proof. If what you're saying is true, we're looking at the biggest scandal in American history." Carter nodded. "That's why I came to you, sir. Because if there's anyone who can take this head on, it's you." The president leaned forward, his eyes locking onto the young lieutenants. "Then let's take these bastards down." The flash drive sat on the resolute desk like a loaded gun, small, unassuming, but capable of detonating everything the nation thought it knew. President Trump, never one to back down from a fight, grabbed the drive and gestured toward a hidden panel beneath the desk. With the press of a button, a concealed compartment slid open, revealing a secure laptop with encrypted access to the nation's most sensitive intelligence networks. "Let's see what you've got, Lieutenant," Trump said, inserting the drive. Ryan Carter leaned forward, tension tightening his jaw as he navigated to a folder marked Project Nightfall. With a click, pages of confidential reports, grainy satellite images, and cryptic messages flooded the screen. Trump's expression darkened as he scanned the contents. "What the hell am I looking at?" he muttered. "These," Carter said, his voice steady but low, "are the records of covert operations conducted by a rogue faction within the Defense Intelligence Agency. They've been operating outside the chain of command, monitoring U.S. citizens, manipulating foreign governments, even interfering with the 2024 election process." Trump's eyes narrowed at one document marked Operation Silent Horizon. He opened it to find a breakdown of a classified mission carried out 6 months before the election, an operation designed to suppress information damaging to certain political figures while enhancing others' public images. And there it was, buried in lines of coded messages, his own name. "They tried to control my campaign," Trump growled, slamming a fist onto the desk. And they failed. But if this is true, they won't stop at me. They're after the whole country. Carter nodded. It's worse than you think, sir. This faction isn't just influencing politics, they're controlling narratives across every major media outlet. Every talking point the American people hear is being engineered behind closed doors. Trump let out a slow breath. Who's leading this? Carter hesitated before clicking on another file labeled Command Hierarchy. A web of names and faces filled the screen. At the top sat General Marcus Holloway, a 4-star general with decades of service and a pristine public image. He was hailed as a patriot, a man who had advised multiple presidents. But the documents painted a different picture, a man orchestrating the most intricate power grab in modern history. Son of a Trump shook his head. I shook this guy's hand last week. Sir, Carter leaned closer, his tone urgent. If Holloway knows I brought this to you, my life's in danger. Yours too. Trump snorted. They've been trying to take me out for years. I'm still standing. But if you're right, we've got to move now. Who else knows about this? No one, sir. I couldn't trust my chain of command. They're compromised. I came to you because you're the only person who can stop this. For the first time, Trump's expression softened. Whatever else people said about him, there was one thing no one could deny: he loved America. And he wasn't about to let anyone steal it. You did the right thing, Lieutenant, he said. But we need to go deeper. If we're going to take down Holloway and his shadow government, I need to know everything. Every operation. Every player. And we need to move fast. He tapped the intercom. Get Director Hughes from the CIA in here. Now. Carter's blood ran cold. Sir, you can't trust Hughes. He's on their payroll. Trump's hand froze above the button. He turned back to Carter. Who can I trust? The young lieutenant hesitated, as if weighing the danger of the words about to leave his lips. Finally, he said, there's someone. A whistleblower, an insider who fed me this intel. She's a former NSA analyst. She's been tracking them for years, but she's in hiding. Where? Carter took a shaky breath. Anchorage, Alaska. Trump cracked a smile. Cold as hell, but a good place to lay low. Get me her name. Carter's voice dropped to a whisper. Her name is Evelyn Pierce. Trump leaned back, a glimmer of determination flashing in his eyes. Evelyn Pierce. All right, kid. You're coming with me to Alaska. If there's a conspiracy to take down America, I want the truth. And I'm going to bury every last one of these traitors myself. And with that, the most powerful man in the world prepared to unravel a secret that could shatter the nation forever. 2 days later, Air Force One touched down on a remote airstrip outside Anchorage, Alaska. The cold wind howled against the fuselage as President Trump stepped onto the tarmac, flanked by a small team of hand-picked Secret Service agents. Beside him, Lieutenant Ryan Carter scanned the area, his body tense with anticipation. This better be worth it, Trump muttered, adjusting his overcoat against the bitter chill. I didn't fly halfway across the country for nothing. She'll be here, Carter assured him, though the gnawing anxiety in his gut remained. Evelyn Pierce had risked everything to expose the truth, but reaching her wasn't going to be easy. A black SUV pulled up, its engine humming softly against the silence. A woman stepped out, tall, sharp-eyed, and wrapped in a heavy coat. Her dark hair was pulled back into a loose bun, and her face bore the weariness of someone who had seen too much. Evelyn Pierce? Trump asked, stepping forward. She nodded cautiously. Mr. President, I wasn't sure you'd come. I'm full of surprises, he quipped, then grew serious. Lieutenant Carter says you have proof, a smoking gun that could bring this whole operation down. Evelyn pulled a battered leather satchel from the back seat, holding it tight. I do. But once you open this box, there's no closing it. These people, Holloway and his network, they will stop at nothing to keep their grip on power. If you take this public, you'll be putting yourself and your entire administration in danger. Trump's jaw tightened. Lady, danger's nothing new to me. Let's see what you've got. Inside a nearby safe house, a secluded cabin buried beneath layers of snow, Evelyn spread out a series of classified files and encrypted documents across a wooden table. Flickering lamplight cast shadows on the walls as she explained the full scale of Project Nightfall. They started small, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. Unauthorized surveillance on key political figures. But by 2020, they had infiltrated intelligence agencies, the Pentagon, even private corporations. General Holloway isn't just leading a rogue faction. He's building a parallel government. One that answers to no one. Trump leaned forward, scanning the records with laser focus. And these missions? They weren't just spying? No, Evelyn confirmed. They manipulated public opinion through cyberops, spreading disinformation, burying stories, controlling social media algorithms. They even staged domestic incidents to justify increasing military power. And when you won the 2024 election, that was their biggest failure. They had backed other candidates, people they could control. But you ruined their playbook. A satisfied smirk tugged at the corner of Trump's mouth. Of course I did. But if they failed then, what's their next move? Evelyn's face darkened. Holloway has a contingency plan. If they can't control the presidency, they'll dismantle it. The files show evidence of Operation Ironclad, an emergency protocol designed to undermine the constitutional government by creating a nationwide crisis. If activated, it could trigger martial law. Trump's face hardened. Martial law? Over my dead body. That might be their plan, Ryan Carter said quietly. Sir, they've tried everything else. If you expose them, they may not hesitate to take you out by any means necessary. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation settling like a heavy weight. For a moment, even Donald Trump, no stranger to high-stakes battles, felt the enormity of the war ahead. Finally, he spoke. We're not hiding from these people. We're going on offense. He turned to Evelyn. Can you decrypt the rest of these files? I already did, she replied, sliding a thumb drive across the table. Everything you need, dates, names, operational blueprints, it's all here. If you go public, this will blow the lid off Holloway's entire operation. Trump took the drive, gripping it tightly. Good. I'm taking this to the American people. But first, I need to know, where's General Holloway right now? Evelyn hesitated, glancing at Carter. According to the latest intel, he's in a secure black site just outside Colorado Springs. It's where he's coordinating Ironclad. A slow smile crept across Trump's face. Then that's where we're going next. If Holloway wants a war, we'll give him one. Carter swallowed hard. Sir, this won't be a simple takedown. He has the resources of a shadow government at his disposal. You could be walking straight into a trap. Trump stood, brushing the snow from his coat. Kid, if I was scared of traps, I wouldn't be sitting in the Oval Office. With the truth in his hands and a storm brewing on the horizon, Donald Trump knew one thing for certain: this fight wasn't just about him. It was about saving the soul of America. And no shadow government was going to stand in his way. The engines of Marine One roared against the icy wind as it lifted off from Anchorage, bound for a classified airstrip near Colorado Springs. Inside, President Trump sat across from Lieutenant Ryan Carter and Evelyn Pierce, the weight of their mission settling over them like a heavy shroud. Trump leaned back, twirling the flash drive between his fingers. This Holloway guy, what's his endgame? Control the government? Start a coup? Evelyn shook her head. Worse. According to the intel, Operation Ironclad is designed to simulate a national emergency. Cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, media blackouts, and targeted political assassinations, all to justify declaring martial law. Once it's in place, the Constitution becomes nothing more than a suggestion. Carter cut in. And with you out of the picture, they'll install a puppet leader, a president who answers only to them. Trump's face grew dark, his voice low and firm. Not on my watch. The helicopter touched down at a secluded military installation, its lights cutting through the darkness. Secret Service agents moved swiftly, securing the perimeter while Trump, Carter, and Evelyn descended into the heart of the base. Awaiting them was General Mark Richards, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a man Trump had trusted through some of his toughest decisions. His towering frame and no-nonsense demeanor exuded authority, but tonight, even he seemed on edge. Mr. President, Richards said, shaking Trump's hand firmly. You sure about this? Holloway's not the type to roll over easily. Trump's expression hardened. I didn't come here to play nice. I came to take him down. Richards led them to a high-security briefing room. A holographic display lit up, revealing a black site hidden deep within the Colorado Rockies. It was an impenetrable fortress, the kind of place even satellite surveillance struggled to penetrate. This is where Holloway is running his operation, Evelyn said, pointing to a heavily reinforced command center. If we can breach the main server room, we'll have enough evidence to dismantle his entire network. And how exactly do we get in? Trump asked. Richards smirked. Luckily, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. We've located a supply convoy heading to the black site in 6 hours. If you want in, that's your ticket. Carter frowned. That's risky. If they spot us. They won't, Richards interrupted. We have a stealth team that can infiltrate the convoy. Once inside, you'll have 30 minutes to pull the data and get out before they realize they've been compromised. Trump leaned forward, the fire in his eyes unmistakable. Good. I want Holloway to know who brought his little empire crashing down. Richards hesitated. Sir, if this goes sideways, there's no backup coming. You'll be on your own. Trump smiled. I work best that way. Hours later, the supply convoy snaked its way through the snow-covered mountain pass. Inside one of the armored trucks, Trump, Carter, and Evelyn sat in tense silence, dressed in stolen military fatigues. Carter checked his weapon, his knuckles white. I can't believe you're doing this in person, sir. Trump chuckled. Kid, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper. Once we're inside, we'll have to move fast. Holloway's command center is 3 levels down. The main server is heavily guarded, but I can override their security if we reach the terminal. The truck jolted to a stop. Through a narrow window, they spotted the looming silhouette of the black site, a fortress of steel and concrete nestled against the mountainside. We're here, Carter murmured. A tense moment passed before the convoy was waved through the checkpoint. The truck rolled into the loading bay where rows of armed guards patrolled beneath blinding fluorescent lights. Let's move, Trump ordered. They slipped out of the truck, blending seamlessly with the other personnel. Evelyn led the way, guiding them through the labyrinthine corridors. Cameras tracked every movement, but thanks to Richards' forged credentials, they passed through without raising alarm. At last, they reached the server room, a high-security vault buzzing with the hum of thousands of encrypted files. Evelyn rushed to the terminal, plugging in her decryption device. I need 5 minutes. Trump and Carter took positions by the door, scanning for any signs of movement. Sir, Carter whispered, if this works, it'll expose Holloway's whole network. But if they catch us, they won't, Trump cut in. And if they do? We fight. Evelyn's fingers flew across the keyboard, bypassing layers of security. Almost there. A sharp beep echoed through the room. Got it, she hissed, pulling the drive free. I have everything, ironclad plans, encrypted communications, funding sources. It's all here. Before they could celebrate, a harsh voice rang out behind them. Don't move. They turned to find General Marcus Holloway himself, flanked by a squad of heavily armed operatives. His silver hair gleamed beneath the fluorescent light, his cold blue eyes burning with fury. I expected better from you, Mr. President, he sneered. But I suppose even you can't resist playing hero. Trump stepped forward, unflinching. Game's over, Holloway. I've got everything I need to take you down. Holloway chuckled softly. You think anyone will believe you? I control the narrative. By the time the world hears your story, you'll be nothing but a traitor, a threat to national security. Carter tensed, ready to draw his weapon, but Trump raised a hand to stop him. You're finished, Trump said, his voice like steel. And by tomorrow morning, the entire nation will know the truth. Holloway's smile faded. He nodded toward his men. Take them. The guards moved in. But Trump wasn't done yet. With lightning speed, he grabbed a stun grenade from his vest and hurled it toward the floor. A blinding flash and deafening crack split the air. Move! Trump barked. In the chaos, they bolted through the door, bullets ricocheting around them as alarms blared across the facility. Evelyn clutched the flash drive like a lifeline as they raced through the winding corridors. The exit loomed ahead, a service hatch leading back to the loading bay. Behind them, Holloway's enraged voice echoed through the speakers. Seal the base. Don't let them escape. But it was too late. Bursting through the hatch, they sprinted toward an idling Black Hawk helicopter where General Richards waited with his extraction team. Go, go, go! Carter shouted, shoving Evelyn into the chopper. As the rotor spun to life, Trump hauled himself inside, flashing a victorious grin as the helicopter lifted off, leaving the black site and Holloway behind. Inside the cockpit, Evelyn clutched the flash drive to her chest, her heart pounding. It's over, she breathed. Trump shook his head. Not yet. When we land, I'm taking this straight to the American people. This country deserves the truth and no shadow government is going to silence me. As the helicopter soared toward Washington, D.C., one thing was clear. The battle for America's future had only just begun. But Trump wasn't done yet. With lightning speed, he grabbed a stun grenade from his vest and hurled it toward the floor. A blinding flash and deafening crack split the air. Move! Trump barked. In the chaos, they bolted through the door, bullets ricocheting around them as alarms blared across the facility. Evelyn clutched the flash drive like a lifeline as they raced through the winding corridors. The exit loomed ahead, a service hatch leading back to the loading bay. Behind them, Holloway's enraged voice echoed through the speakers. Seal the base. Don't let them escape. But it was too late. Bursting through the hatch, they sprinted toward an idling Black Hawk helicopter where General Richards waited with his extraction team. "Go, go, go!" Carter shouted, shoving Evelyn into the chopper. As the rotor spun to life, Trump hauled himself inside, flashing a victorious grin as the helicopter lifted off, leaving the black site and Holloway behind. Inside the cockpit, Evelyn clutched the flash drive to her chest, her heart pounding. "It's over," she breathed. Trump shook his head. "Not yet. When we land, I'm taking this straight to the American people. This country deserves the truth, and no shadow government is going to silence me." As the helicopter soared toward Washington, D.C., one thing was clear. The battle for America's future had only just begun. The sun was just beginning to rise over Washington, D.C., casting a golden glow across the White House lawn as Marine One touched down. President Trump stepped off the helicopter with Lieutenant Ryan Carter and Evelyn Pierce by his side, the weight of their discovery pressing on their shoulders. Trump moved swiftly through the corridors of the White House, his face a mask of unwavering determination. The flash drive containing the full truth about General Holloway and Operation Ironclad was clutched tightly in his hand, a weapon more powerful than any missile. Inside the Situation Room, the nation's top intelligence and military officials were already gathered. General Mark Richards stood at the head of the table, his expression tense. As Trump entered, the room fell silent. "Mr. President," Richards began, "we've secured the airspace around Colorado. Holloway is trapped, but his network extends further than we thought. There are loyalists in the Pentagon and beyond. If we don't act now, they'll bury this." Trump slammed the flash drive onto the table. "Not on my watch. We're going public. Today." The Director of National Intelligence leaned forward, his voice cautious. "Sir, if we release this information, it will shatter public trust in the military and intelligence community. We're talking about a crisis of faith." Trump's eyes blazed with resolve. "The American people deserve the truth. I didn't come back to the White House to play politics, I came back to clean house." Evelyn Pierce plugged the flash drive into the secure network. Lines of encrypted data filled the screen, evidence of illegal surveillance, covert operations, and the chilling details of Operation Ironclad. The sheer scale of corruption was staggering. "This isn't just a rogue faction," Evelyn said softly. "It's an entire shadow government." Trump turned to his communications team. "Prepare a national address. I'm speaking to the American people in 1 hour." An hour later, every major news network cut to a live broadcast from the Oval Office. Across the country and the world, millions of viewers tuned in as Donald Trump faced the camera, his expression solemn yet resolute. "My fellow Americans," he began, "I come before you tonight with the most important message of my presidency." He held up the flash drive. "For years, a secret network within our government, led by General Marcus Holloway, has operated outside the law. Their goal? To undermine our democracy and seize control of this nation by force." A murmur swept through the nation as Trump detailed the revelations: illegal spying on American citizens, manipulated elections, and a plan to impose martial law through Operation Ironclad. "These traitors believed they could control you, your thoughts, your choices, your future. But they underestimated one thing: the spirit of the American people." He leaned forward, his voice rising with conviction. "I will not allow our freedoms to be stolen in the shadows. My administration is taking swift action to dismantle this criminal network and bring everyone involved to justice." A pause hung in the air, heavy with meaning. "They tried to silence us. They failed. And as long as I am your president, I will never stop fighting for the truth." The broadcast ended, but the ripple effect was immediate and explosive. Within hours, General Holloway was arrested during a covert military raid on his black site. Alongside him, dozens of senior operatives and compromised officials were taken into custody. The evidence from Evelyn's flash drive led to the largest national security investigation in U.S. history. The media exploded with revelations. Headlines across every major outlet blared. "Shadow government exposed. President Trump unmasks secret coup plot. General Holloway arrested. Operation Ironclad foiled." Public outrage swept the nation, but so did renewed faith in the power of truth. In towns and cities across America, people took to the streets, not in protest but in support. Banners reading "Truth wins" and "No more secrets" waved in the wind. Inside the White House, Trump stood by the window watching the people cheer. Carter entered quietly. "Sir, Holloway's being processed at a classified facility. He won't be a threat again." Trump nodded, his face unreadable. Good. But this fight isn't over. There are still people out there who think they can play kingmaker in the shadows. And what do we do about them? Carter asked. Trump turned, a fierce glint in his eye. We keep watching, we keep fighting, and we make sure this never happens again. Evelyn joined them, her face softening with relief. You changed everything tonight, Mr. President. Trump smiled faintly. No, we did. In the months that followed, sweeping reforms reshaped the intelligence community. Transparency and oversight became the new standard, and public trust in the government began to heal. As for Lieutenant Ryan Carter, he was promoted to a senior intelligence role, tasked with ensuring no threat like Holloway's would ever rise again. Evelyn Pierce became a national hero, her bravery inspiring a new generation of whistleblowers to speak truth to power. And Donald Trump, the man who refused to back down, secured his legacy not just as a leader, but as a defender of democracy. In the end, the shadow government's greatest mistake was underestimating the power of truth and the will of a nation unwilling to be controlled. Because as long as there were those willing to fight for freedom, the truth would always prevail.